Hello and welcome to Restoring Our American Republic. I'm Chuck Benoit with The Nature of Things, where we are realigning God, government, and natural law so that we might restore our American Republic. Last night, the Lake County REC tried again to postpone a vote on a resolution to support President Trump's plan to eliminate vote by mail, mail-in ballots, and voting machines. The leadership promised to vote, but due to a significant organizational deficiency, the ad hoc leaders used their incompetence to try to postpone the vote again. The Lake County REC members are both grassroots activists and aware enough about the rules of the REC governance that it foiled the attempt, and the resolution was both voted on and passed. How did they pull it off? Well, they decided to vote against the agenda as presented by the fill-in leadership and not willing to pass an agenda without the resolution on it. Patriots working together to stand with our president when the hand-picked rhinos of Lake County are about their business hiding behind incompetence. Of course, Lake County is not the only residence of these zombie-type Republicans. We find them in Washington as well, unwilling to put our president's agenda into law out of fear of losing financial support from one or another special interest. But we do have options. We have to be willing to use them. So we need to be calling, emailing, and or writing our representatives at every level of government with our admonition to codify President Donald J. Trump's economic agenda into law. And don't forget to pray for our president, his administration, and his family as well. So speaking of grassroots powerhouses, welcome Mike Levine.
Hey there, Chuck. It was a pleasure to be with you and the rest of our Make America Great Again, America First Patriot members of the Republican Executive Committee here in the amazing Lake County, Florida, Chuck.
Yeah, it was an interesting meeting. It was quite productive for the most part, due to a few people standing up for our rights and causing something to happen. And so that's what we have to do.
Very, very interesting times we live in,
Yeah,
even in the here in the free state of Florida, right?
right,
Let's get into
right.
it, Chuck. Come on, let's rock and roll. Let's get busy.
Okay, well, you know,
Let's lay some stuff on the table.
we put together a little blurb there on HB 991, and we're going to kind of look at that from a different perspective this morning. So we have a little flyer we're going to have up here occasionally. I'll put it up
Just
there
pay
for.
attention to my TV screen, Chuck. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I guess that's good. Yeah, that's good. I guess the audience can see that better than they can see what's on my TV screen. So
Yeah, okay.
go ahead.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, I can't get both of us up there right away, but we'll be
All
looking at
right.
that for a while, and we'll be back over here and in our other little areas as well. Um, so this was put out by Defend Florida,
Actually, Chuck, I did the flyer,
and you did the
not put
flyer,
out by
and you're
Defend
offering
Florida.
it to
I
Defend
did
Florida.
the I did it, yeah, in conjunction with on behalf of Defend Florida, who has a political committee called Ground Game. So that's what's happening here. And as we talk about this, Chuck, you and I hopefully today will talk about the broader context of the HB 991 and why it's important to support Defend Florida and also grassroots organizations who pursue America First legislative agendas here in Florida, Chuck.
Right, right. So how do we want to start? I mean, you want to give your
Okay. Yeah, let me talk about this. Okay. So first of
yeah,
all,
sure.
HB 991 is a horrible bill for election processes. Okay. So, like all legislation or most legislation, the bill starts out by defining the terms that are referred to in the text of the bill. which is necessary. Got to do that. So the most important part of HB 991 is that it starts out by defining what is a voter system. Okay. And then it goes by. The voter system includes the training materials for election workers. It includes the operating manuals for the scanners and the tabulators. And it talks about that the ballot itself is a part of the election voter system. And the reports that are generated by the scanners and the tabulators are a part of the voter system. And then it goes and says the voter system is a confidential, secured set of assets for the state of Florida, which means that they're not available to the public by public record request. So that's really important on HB 991 because our election specialists who were with us last night, and of course, I've been working with Defend Florida on this for, I'm going to use the term weeks because it's a very accurate term, but could be months. It is months. And we have known all along that this bill actually would make ballots and other reports that come from the Supervisor of Elections Office or the Division of Elections in Tallahassee secured to the point that they would be, if you went to a judge, if you had to go to a judge to get a judge to file an injunction against the state and force the state to deliver the documents that you're looking for, the judge would read the law and say, no, those documents legislatively, statutorily are protected. So I'm not going to grant, your demand on the state of Florida to release those documents. And then to wrap that conversation up, Chuck, activists have talked to the Secretary of State directly, who had a lot of input into the construction of this bill. And the Secretary of State says the bill doesn't do that, but the bill does in fact do that. So that's kind of where we are, Chuck. On that's just one point, and of course, this flyer that I put together has a lot of points that we don't like about HB 991 or HJR 991, committee-sponsored bill. But so my broader point is that this is the state of Florida centralizing everything. We talk about growth management. They have brought those decisions making process to Tallahassee. We're looking at election processes. They've got the Department of Motor Vehicles and the Secretary of State's office, the Division of Elections, much more involved in local elections than the local supervisor of elections is, Chuck. And I'm questioning the rationale and the prudence of those decisions, Chuck.
Yes, well, and you're not the only one, but possibly.
Could be.
So yeah,
But no,
starting
I'm
up
not
with
the only one. Thank God.
yeah, right, yeah, for sure. One of the first points we have up here is that he who controls the Florida elections controls a $125 billion government. I'm assuming you're talking about Florida there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the
and
stakes are high.
yeah. Um,
And just to be clear, Chuck, this is what special interests want. This is their only concern is they get their slice of that money. That's it. And while we're on the subject, I just want to bring everyone's attention that the grassroots people, the people that we're trying to protect, do not fund their own defense against these special interests who use our legislator and our executive branch to get what they want. So we're sitting here like ducks in a pond. We do not fund the candidates that we want. We do not fund the issue advocacy programs that we want. And this flyer is put together for the purpose of encouraging people to donate to the Ground Game PAC, which funds Defend Florida, for the benefit of assisting activists who spend their own time and money traveling to Tallahassee, going to meetings, studying legislation, communicating the impact of this legislation to our grassroots network in Florida, Chuck. This is so critical. But the grassroots gets, I mean, honestly, for the amount of productivity the grassroots actually achieves, it's amazing that they get anything done based on the strategy, tactics, and resources available. It's a mind blower. So if we could raise money sufficient across the state of Florida to be competitive with the funding that special interests and their minions have available to them, we would crush this. But people don't want to spend the time on it. They don't want to contribute to it. So I'm encouraging everyone who sees this video to scan that QR code that's on the screen right now and make the donation that you can afford. Thank you, Chuck.
So clearly, what we're talking about here is uh, not simply trying to be informed about HB 991, but to actually come up with a plan to defeat both it and other types of legislation, and even possibly um, uh, end up with being able to support candidates in the future, do you think?
Chuck, the definition of victory is having a populist governor, a populist Speaker of the House, and a populist President of the Senate. That is the only path to victory. It's really that simple, yet that daunting. We must run the state of Florida with a populist mindset, Chuck.
Okay, and so what again you're suggesting is that we need to pony up some cash. We need to get
Yeah,
behind.
pay attention. Yeah. I mean, you and I are putting this stuff out. We've done at least 15 bills in this legislative session. We have published videos on 15 bills. So we're doing the hard work for our base, people that we care about, which is all Floridians. Just so you know, Chuck, I care about all Floridians, rich, poor, influential, not influential. But the way to serve all of the citizens of the state of Florida is to serve median household income families. When median household income families can achieve the quality of life that we want for all Americans, under the economically challenged have an achievable goal. And the people who have lots and lots of resources, they live at the cost of living of a median household income family. So this just gives them more resources to reinvest, continue to grow their wealth. It gives them customers for their businesses, everything. So our target has to be to provide uh, uh, a um, robust quality of life for median household income families, Chuck. When you do that, you have victory everywhere. And Chuck.
There you go. So we have this HB 991 flyer here in front of us. Actually, I can put her up here in a second there with you beside it.
So if you're
I,
watching, scan the QR code, take a picture of it so you'll have it, and then just scan the QR code and go over and take a look and see what Defend Florida's put up. And you can donate, and that'd be great. We'd love it if you would. Thank you, Chuck.
Sure, sure. HB 991 blocks voter systems from public records requests.
We
That's
already talked about it.
sounds ominous. Um, it includes the ballots and the definition of a voter system. So the
We
ballot
already talked about
itself,
it.
yeah, yeah, and
Mhm.
it includes reports in the definition of a voter system. So even the reports are part of the system, which is off limits.
Correct. Intentionally or unintentionally, that's what the bill does.
Yeah,
So that's
so
pretty scary that we have legislators. Oh, let me tell you something else. It's really, really bad in this bill that the bill actually refers to the operating manuals of the scanners and tabulators and defers to them as to what is the law. So if you follow this law and you want to find out certain things about the election process, you're going to have to refer to the manual for the scanner and the tabulator to find out what the law is. So you can actually change the law by rewriting the manual, Chuck. And that is hopefully unintentional on behalf of the sponsor of the bill, but that's what it says. So now you're turning over literal legislation to, in my view, the manufacturers and producers of these voting machines, and you're referring to their operation manual in your statute, which means if you change the manual, you change the statute, Chuck. How does that sound, ladies and gentlemen?
sounds a bit
Sounds
unconstitutional.
crazy to me,
Sounds unconstitutional
right?
to me.
Yeah. Who gave a voting machine manufacturer the right to write legislation, Chuck?
There you go. That's my
Right? I
thought
mean,
right
you are
there.
delegating the writing of voter processing regulation to a private company. That's crazy.
Just throwing that QR code up there again for a little while in case anyone wants to grab that. Um,
And also,
so
Chuck, we need to post the flyer everywhere we post the video, which would be YouTube, Facebook, X, etc.
yeah, I'll see if I can figure out how to do that. I'm still pretty pretty wet behind the ears when it comes to
I'll help. I'll help. Okay, let's keep going.
yeah. All right. Well, again, there's all kinds of issues with applications and the motor vehicles. Really,
Let's
if
talk about
someone,
that.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
yeah,
Let's
we've
talk
talked
about
about a
that.
lot of this already, obviously, but just kind of reminding people that if someone applies for a motor vehicle license and doesn't um, elect to register to vote, that person is actually highlighted and that information. There's something going on there. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it does put
It's reported to the Secretary of State.
right there. It
The
is,
Department of
and
Motor Vehicles, Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles reports to the Secretary of State anyone who applies for a change to their driver's license or a new license or anything like that. And if they don't want to update their voter record or they don't want to register to vote, they're reported to the Secretary of State.
so
So my
what's
point is, Chuck, what I'd like to say is this is way out of control. Okay. The In 1993, the motor voter law was passed federally, requiring Department of Motor Vehicles in all the states in federal elections to do the things that the Department of Motor Vehicles is doing. We need to repeal the motor voter law, and we need to get the Department of Motor Vehicles and Highway Safety out of the voter registration business. What do we have a supervisor of elections for? I mean, you've got Tallahassee theoretically, and I'm saying to you, through their private sector vendors, are managing our voter rolls statewide. The local supervisor of elections has less to do with it than the state of Florida and their outside vendors has to do with the management of their own voter rolls, which is just horrific, right? And the Department of Motor Vehicles does voter registration. So I'm all about returning the preponderance of the work that's associated with registering voters, maintaining voter rolls, and managing the polling of voters back to the supervisor of elections. Chuck, does that sound strange or weird?
it doesn't sound necessarily strange or weird. But it does sound possibly like, I don't know, maybe that's what should have been done in the first place. Yeah, the whole motor voter thing was, in my estimation, a scam from the beginning, and yet it's a bit more out of hand. And this, we're not dealing with a Florida statute or a Florida law. We're not dealing with, but what we are dealing with here in this HB 991 is a continued obfuscation of what that bill placed in the hands of our state, where, as you were saying, Tallahassee is actually taking over the whole role. I mean, in one instance you have them taking over uh, the right to determine where housing is put. That's taken away from our legislators, and now voting. The ability to control the elections is taken away from our supervisor of election. It does seem like they're trying to absolutely gut county governance. Do you think that's an underlying principle here?
It's the driving principle, Chuck. They're centralizing as much decision making as they can at the state level. And, I mean, honestly, when you get into this, Chuck, because I'm an old man and I've been around for a long time, I can tell you from experience that when people are not involved, as you point out, in every opening monologue and in every closing monologue, if people are not involved in their own governance, they are much more likely to break laws and be criminals. They are much less likely to engage in activities that support the community economically and socially. So the idea that again, I think a fundamental premise of our American system of government is that government is best close to the people. And the state of Florida is doing just the opposite, moving the decision making process from local government and consolidating, the key word is centralizing decision making in Tallahassee. And then you can get into the whole AI situation, which does the same thing. Oh, we don't need local people managing our budgets, managing our business, the business of the state, or whatever the case might be, because we can do this much more efficiently from Tallahassee. So the next thing you know, we'll be reporting to a robot, Chuck. And that's the direction we're going. And Tallahassee is 100% on board with all of it, Chuck.
So we've offered this question. Many people have offered it, and I thought possibly we could throw that out. I probably could have done that a little earlier, but for those of you who are watching, if we would like to know what you think about Florida and whether or not Florida is the gold standard for elections. So if you want to post your comments in the comment section, we'd like to know your opinion on the Florida as the gold standard for elections. Yes, no, and possibly why. So with that,
Let
I'm
me
going to
just chip
throw
in
that.
here a little bit, Chuck. Yeah, let me just chip in if you don't mind. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you're considering whether you think that the state of Florida is the gold standard for election, please look at the chain of custody of ballots for sure, but also applications, the documents that are required in order to prove citizenship, your birth certificate, your passport, other government issued IDs and stuff like that. So, chain of custody is a huge component of secure elections. And I suggest to you that the electronic transfer of information between the Department of Motor Vehicles, the Secretary of State's office, who then shares that information with the local supervisor of elections, who should be the point of origin for all of that information. So, as you're looking at it and deciding whether the state of Florida is the gold standard for elections, keep chain of custody issues in mind as you reconcile the components of that decision, Chuck.
Yeah, and I guess as you were talking about the whole idea of actual registering to vote itself, there's a lot of oddities in all of that, almost forcing people to register to vote, and the idea that they have to remain on the voter registry, even if they can't prove their citizenship. And that seems to be a
That's correct.
real odd one. And you just wonder if possibly at least they could say that after a certain period of time, if they haven't um, proved citizenship, that they should be taken off of the voter rolls. But I mean, that seems a little common sense, but a very, very small band-aid to what really, to this bill. It really does not seem to be moving us toward free and fair elections.
And just remember, Chuck, that a lot of what the Secretary of State does, he gets from the association, National Association of Secretaries of State. So they go to a convention, they all sit around the table, they determine with the political parties involved, obviously. We're talking about elections here. So if you think the political parties aren't involved, you got another thought coming. So Cord Bird goes to these meetings and then comes back with what they say are the best practices for elections and implies and implements those programs in the state of Florida. The ERIC system was a classic example, electronic registration information uh, coalition or whatever they are. And that's a classic example of, the collective mindset. America, ladies and gentlemen, we are not collectivism, groupthink is not a part of the American ethos. We make our decisions individually for our families. And government is just a tool to achieve things that we want to do collectively. That's it. But it's got to be kept to a minimum. America is the fundamental thought is that government serves the people. But that we are so far away from that, Chuck. And it's going to take a, a lot of hard work. And we need to do it right here in Florida, right now, and flip this government back to a populist government that makes decisions based on what's best for median household income families, Chuck. That is the formula for success. But of course, I'll restate that we have to choose a populist governor, populist Speaker of the House, populist President of the Senate. If you don't have that, then you will be beating your head against a concrete block wall, Chuck.
Yes, well, we do have something to say about our governor. What really do we have to say about the president of the Senate and the House Majority leaders? I mean, that those are not necessarily in our hands, but uh, I guess that what
Oh,
that
they
means
are. They very much are.
in the sense
Oh,
that
well, yeah. I mean, that's another thing, Chuck. That's why people like you and me have to read the law, the statutes, and we have to create provisions within the statutes that prevent those powerful people from doing certain things that gives them leverage over the system. And we can get into that another time. But there are things that we need to build into these laws. And of course, they're going to make the decision whether the statutory changes that we recommend get voted on because they determine what comes to the floor for a vote and what doesn't. So that's a monumental task, and we'll have to do some strategizing about that to figure out how we're going to get that done. Uh, but I had an interesting experience this morning that my brain just diverted to, but I won't share it again. It's just too time consuming to get into, and it has a lot to do with my faith. So
uh,
if we're going to spend time on it, we want to give it the time it requires. So let's keep
there you go.
moving.
'Cause we're
But
in
yeah,
our waning moments. I'm going to throw the QR code back up there, and Mike, why don't you give us a final remark?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think my position has been made pretty clear on this recording and this stream that I am not into centralization of anything. I don't like big businesses. I like small businesses. I don't like big government. I like small government. I don't like decisions being made at the World Economic Forum, at the United Nations. I want them made in Tavares, Florida, for Lake County. And that's where I'm at. Okay. I want people to be very involved in their government. I want people to have very direct access to their government. And when they have a concern about government, I want them to talk about people, I want them to talk to people that they know, such as city councilmen, city councilwomen, county commissioners, your own state reps from your own local delegation. And those people should listen to you, not necessarily do everything you say, but if something you want from them does not make sense legislatively, they should be able to explain to you why it doesn't make sense. And I'll tell you something again from last night's experience at the Republican Executive Committee, Chuck. I mean, the conversation continued to go back to, well, we're going to have to ask Chairman Taylor Yarkowski, who's not present at this meeting tonight, if that's okay. And no, that's not the way it's done. The way it's done is there's a motion from the floor and a second, and then we speak for and against the motion, and then we have a vote, and the body decides what the organization does. And that's the same thing in your city council, the same thing in your county commission, and the same thing in your state legislature, Chuck. Thank you for the opportunity to express myself today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Mike Levine, and thank you all again for tuning into our twice weekly live stream. Please follow us on Facebook at Restoring Our American Republic, or check us out on YouTube at Restoring Our American Republic ROAR. Please like and share the program. Again, remember, if you are unwilling to govern yourself, you will be governed by tyrants. Until next time, God bless you. God bless President Donald J. Trump, and God bless America.